Hey friends, how you doing? Hope you're having a great Wednesday. We're halfway through the week. Hopefully, you're getting a lot of good stuff done. I wanted to come and continue this conversation with you guys about calling, and I was thinking about how sometimes we're a little romantic about that. Like we have a romantic, or if you're a Christian, maybe an over spiritualized perspective on what that is. Right? We think it would just be easy, that we'd always be doing exactly what we want to do. But those of us who've been blessed to really pursue things that we really want to do will be the first to tell you that there's plenty of work in the things that we want to do that is really hard, that's really difficult. And even when you're going to go take on something that you can imagine getting very big, the question I always ask myself, I was very fortunate in my time at Dell to pursue some pretty big things, and at the beginning of those, I distinctly remember kind of laying awake at night, going, "Man, that's going to be really hard. Am I really willing to pay the cost of that?" And so I think that there's an aspect of calling that really needs to get into reality. And is it something that you'd really want to be able to deal with every single day? So Cheryl and I were kind of doing a devotional this morning. We were spending some time together, and we had this amazing quote that I want to share with you guys that was a part of this devotional that we were doing. So I'm just going to pop that up here, and hopefully that'll, whoops, here we go. And it basically was this quote that says, "Cease endlessly striving to do what you want to do and learn to do what must be done." I left out the two there. Learn to love what must be done. That's right. No, there it is. Cease endlessly striving to do what you want to do and learn to love what must be done. So, how about you guys? I mean, is that something that this poet Goethe wasn't a Christ follower? He wasn't a Christian, but he distinctly knew that our motivations, the hardness of accomplishing something isn't going to be done by willpower alone. Like our motivation for love has to be a part of that. But sometimes we don't want to do the things we are called to do. I mean, if it's a calling that you're pursuing, there's probably an element of it that you don't want to do. There might be an element that you have nothing to want to do. I mean, if you look at Jonah in the Bible, I mean, the reason he spent some time in the well is because he was running away from what God was calling him to do. And even after he did it and had amazing success, I mean, the kind of success that most people would just love to have, he was frustrated. And because he had done that because God was asking him to, not because he loved this group of people. And God had to show him, and that's what the rest of the book is about, is God showing him how much he had love for this group of people, and that Jonah needed to get his attitude together with that, right? So I think when love drives our motivations, that's part of it. So when you think about coming into your calling, I think you have to think about, who do you love? 10 years ago, literally like right about this time 10 years ago, I was going through the most difficult moment of my life. I found myself having my wife, the mother of my children, at 25 years, telling me that she no longer wanted to be married to me. And I did not want that path. I really wanted to continue to pursue our marriage and to continue to pursue overcoming whatever challenge she felt like we had. We had been doing some counseling. We had been trying to work through that, but at this point in time, she was telling me like, "Nope, I'm done." And we were very involved with our church community. My daughters were living with me, and it just was kind of a weird place for them to be at our church. So even though I had lots of brothers and sisters who were loving me there, I felt the need to kind of find another place to worship, and started going to the church I'm going to now. Back then, I was very used to being involved with ministry and being involved with people, and so I was trying to kind of figure out at this new church, where should I be? What should I be working on? What should I be doing? And I had a lunch session with our pastor, and we were just kind of talking about some of that. And he told me one of the most awesome things. He said, "You know, Todd, what I just think you need to do is just love these people." And that's it. And I think maybe at the time, he was just knowing that I needed to grieve and to go through some things myself, and that this was very difficult for me, and that I probably didn't need to do much more than loving my own family, because this was going to be difficult, which is indeed kind of what happened. But I was very moved by that, because it really gets to the point, right? You have to love what God loves. If you're getting a calling and it's from God, then it starts with, well, what does He love? And then, how will I be a part of that love, right? And so here's another, thing just to share with you. When you think about research shows that people that are really high performing, that they're really doing lots of stuff, they're not asking themselves this question like, what am I good at? Like, what are my strengths, right? And what am I good at? What they're more often asking themselves is, what's required to be of service here in this situation, in this moment? What needs to be done? And how can I grow? How can I transform my life so that, I can lead others and I can actually participate in that? And so I think when we think of calling in this sort of, fairy tale sense, we have a good idea. We're not yet counting the cost. We're not saying, what am I willing to give of myself for that? Then we're not really demonstrating love yet, right? So I think that one of the big ideas in getting past that is, what do you love, right? You have to start with that, because it's going to be costly to you, right? You're going to have to be willing to give to that group of people, to that situation, to that need, with so much love and passion, that on the hardest days, which will come, which will be maybe even more frequent, and not even just on the hard days, but on just the mundane days, on the days where it just doesn't seem like it's happening, right? Which are almost more than the hard days, right? On the hard days, sometimes you can just go, yeah, but I'm going to strive through it. But on the mundane days, you can just get distracted. You can just get just lost in whether or not this is meaningful at all, right? And the reality is, you have to be able to come back to, what do I love? And what does God love? And what does He ask me to do in that? And am I willing to go through the rest of it for Him? So that's my question for you today. What do you love? Who do you love? Like, what situation in your life has God called you to, and put enough love in your heart on it that you're just ready to go and figure out the rest of it, right? Because that's what happens, right? To get what must be done is you have to go from this sort of rough idea to all of the costly detail, right? And so before even putting that together, even starting to put a plan together, is a huge amount of work and energy. And so, and you can get distracted just in that before you even really get to going. So how do where you're going to go if you can't even come back to your reason why? Like, why am I doing this? And so that's where the start is for calling is, what do you see that God loves, and He's put so much love in you that you just feel like you have to go deal with that. And then, are you willing to actually do what must be done? So that's the two questions. What do you love? And are you willing to do what must be done? Have a great day, my friends.